Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host Kelly Pally, and before we jump into our list today, I just want to give you guys a big shout out for helping us reach 100,000 subscribers. We adore you guys and we want to keep giving you great lists, so let us know what videos you'd like to see next and we'll try our best to make them happen. But thank you for all the love and support, we really appreciate it. But for now, let's jump into this list, the top 10 controversial superheroes. And at number 10 is Shamrock. Hey, you know what would be great? A racially stereotypical Irish superhero. Said no one, ever. Well, apparently Marvel felt the need to create one anyway. Shamrock is a painfully on-the-nose Irish stereotype. From wearing a bright green costume with a shamrock on it, to the ginger hair and the superpower of literally having luck. Or being lucky. Cause the look of the Irish and all, I guess, as if that wasn't bad enough, she even has a backstory that involved the IRA, and that's kind of unnecessarily intense. I guess, I mean, you could probably have an interesting IRA backstory, but like this one was just like too much. Anyway, at number 9 we have Alan Scott. Alan Scott was the first hero to take up the mantle of the Green Lantern in All-American Comics 16 in 1940. And during the New 52 revamp, DC announced that they would be making the character gay. As progressive as this seemed, they still managed to goof it up hardcore. So we're introduced to Alan's boyfriend Sam, who he plans on proposing to. They're on a train traveling together, and of course that train is wrecked. Sam dies, and Scott is grief-stricken, of course, because can't have two happy gay characters, can ya? Bury your gays tropes, friends, bury your gays. And at number 8 is Spawn. So Spawn has always been a character that had a bit of a controversy following him. There's that whole lawsuit with Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane where Gaiman claims he wasn't paid for his run with the character. And McFarlane has also been sued for using real people's names. And then there's a lot of racial controversy too. Like McFarlane saying that despite his reasoning for making Spawn black was because there wasn't enough interesting black superhero characters out there, he didn't want people to focus on the character's race. So the solution was to burn up Al Simmons' face whenever he turned into Spawn. That's kind of counterproductive though, am I right? And at 7 is Black Bomber. Once upon a time, back in the 70s, DC realized that it would be a good idea to create a superhero that wasn't white. You know, like actually have proper representation and diversity in their comics. Who'd have thunk? Well, they had some pretty unfortunate attempts at adding more diversity in their comics. Looking at you, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. But there was one character that fortunately was never created, and it was called the Black Bomber, and he was a major racist. So Black Bomber was a white bigot who tries to save someone he can't see clearly one night. And when he realizes who he saved, and that they're black, he's disgusted, which is kind of f***ed up. So when he becomes stressed out, he would turn into a black superhero, due to a military experiment with a camouflage chemical in Vietnam. It's just so wrong on so many levels. Up next at number 6 is Ebony White. Speaking of racial insensitivity, here's some more casual bigotry for you all. Ebony White was a character in the Spirit who drove the hero around in his cab, so a chauffeur. While the inclusion of a non-white character may have seemed as a win over bigotry at the time, the character really didn't age well and comes off as another blackface caricature. Later versions of the character have been revamped to look less racially insensitive, but it's kinda hard to forget the stereotypes he was born out of. And at number 5 is Speedy. Nothing like a good old drug scandal to make a character controversial. In 2 of the Green Lantern Green Arrow issues back in 1971, DC published a story called Snowbirds Don't Fly. Wonder what that could mean. That dealt with Oliver's ward Speedy getting hooked on heroin and becoming an addict. With the tagline, DC attacks youth's greatest problem, drugs. This issue came at a time when the US was beginning a war on drugs politically, and the Comic Code's authority over comic book regulations was kind of fading, especially after Marvel had just published a story arc in Amazing Spider-Man featuring Harry Osborn struggling with a drug addiction. And at number 4 is Starfire. Starfire has gotten a lot of heat over the years for being an overly sexualized character. Her New 52 reboot just objectified the crap out of her, and even when she did get a new costume, DC just dumped her right down. Like really dumped her down, to the point where fans were outraged that DC just couldn't get the character right. Starfire has been an inspiration to a lot of female readers, having overcome some intense stuff in her past and being an adored character in Teen Titans, both the comics and the TV show. So you can see how this would be super disappointing. And at number 3 is Barbara Gordon. As many of you already know, Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, was paralyzed from the waist down during the Killing Joke, when the Joker shot her for collateral to drive Commissioner Gordon insane and ultimately provoke Batman. She was then brought back by John Ostrander in 1989 as a superhero in a wheelchair, Oracle, who helped her fellow crime fighters by using her technological abilities. But then during the New 52, she was brought back as Batgirl, having recovered from her paralysis but still severely traumatized. And even though Gail Simone, who was incredibly progressive and awesome as the writer, was on board for Batgirl, many fans were still outraged that this change had occurred, feeling as if the reboot trivialized her disability. I don't know, what do you guys think? And at number 2 is Superman. While the Man of Steel is a well-deserving fan favorite, Clark has some more awkward moments throughout history that people don't really like to talk about, especially DC. For starters, there was the whole controversy of the death is inconsequential thing in comics ordeal that happened with the death of Superman back in '92. You guys should be familiar with this. The Man of Steel was killed off, but whoops, guess what? He's still alive, which just made a lot of fans feel like they were betrayed, and that death just doesn't exist in comics, right? But there's also some pretty intense racially insensitive aspects to some of Superman's storylines, especially after World War II and all the nationalist propaganda that his comics projected, which is ironic considering he's technically an illegal alien. Anyway, in Superman 239, the lack of non-white people on Krypton was explained by describing an island called Vathlo, and I quote, was the home of a highly advanced black race. Ooh, really, DC? Really? Okay, cool. Not really cool, but okay. And finally, at number 1 is Captain America. Of course, we have to finish off our list with a superhero who has done a complete 180 over the last few months. Captain America used to be a symbol of American patriotism, and now, well, he is apparently a secret sleeper agent for Hydra, and he has been for all these years. Oh, and hey, he's a fascist. That's fun. Way to completely shit on an iconic character that many associate with the best values of their country. And recently, Cap was even able to pick up Thor's hammer, which, you know, you have to be worthy of doing. So apparently a Nazi-sympathizing fascist was worthy. And while Marvel claims that this change of heart in Cap isn't supposed to be reflective of current American politics, well, let's just say many readers feel otherwise. So there we have it, guys. Any controversial characters you think should have made this list? Let us know in those comments below. We love hearing from you guys, so make sure you give us a shout. And don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you dug this video. But for now, I'm Kelly Pally, and this has been Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you guys in the next one.